Today's topic will focus on let's talk about money, children, and financial literacy, a family focus. Today's presentation is a collection of work derived from family systems theory that views the family as an interconnected emotional unit. It's also derived from a curriculum that I developed that teaches adolescents about resiliency. It's also derived from a host of resources and references that I'll be sure to capture at the end of my presentation. The role of a financial therapist. I am not a financial planner. I do not provide investment advice, nor do I sell products. However, as a certified financial therapist, I help people think, feel, and relate to money differently. I can assist with financial goals, offer savings tips, and process life decisions. One example of a life decision is retirement. It's common for a person to assess their readiness to retire. There are financial, emotional, and social factors to consider, which look vastly different from person to person. As a financial therapist, I'm able to process these decisions with people. Financial literacy and financial wellness. Let's take a quick look at the difference between financial literacy and financial wellness. Financial literacy is often thought to be terminology, concepts, basic knowledge of how our financial system works. Financial wellness, on the other hand, is the ability to manage your financial resources and meet your financial goals. Financial wellness also takes into account an inevitable emergency and having a plan to become debt-free if you do have debt. Working toward improving your financial wellness will likely improve your quality of life, especially when it comes to managing stress and relationships. The hope is that once you build a foundation of financial literacy, you'll be well on your way to financial wellness. Financial matters are an individual and collective path. Individually, we may have short and long-term goals for ourselves and our families. But collectively, we can also have short and long-term goals that are centered around pooling resources like joining an investment club. Think of the concept, we're stronger in numbers. My hope is that today's presentation will not just be applicable and educational for financial matters, although we'll heavily focus on this area. But my hope is that this information will also be useful in many different areas of your life. For example, many people around the beginning of the new year set New Year's resolutions. For some people, they focus on losing weight, and that can take the form of eating better or proper nutrition and exercise. For some people, they have goals around saving money, making a career change, quitting a bad habit, or just spending more time with your family and friends. If any of these areas resonate with you, Please allow this material to assist you in moving the needle forward in other areas of your life that also require your attention. A family-focused plan. I imagine that conversations about needs and wants for the average family can be mundane. So how do we have these conversations in a way that sets the tone for our children today and disciplines them in the future? As parents and guardians, let's personally consider exploring these options. Conversation starters. Examine your spending habits. Has your spending habits directly and indirectly influenced your children? Have your children received informal financial education based on conversations that they overheard? For some of these conversations that they overheard lead to a scarcity mindset and leave them with a sense of anxiety and want to fix the problem for the family. Has your lifestyle been impacted by your spending? If so, how? Are you able to periodically take a vacation, eat out, treat your child for good grades, etc.? These are just examples of thought-provoking questions to ask yourself prior to beginning conversations about money. Sometimes the most powerful conversations occur through behaviors and not necessarily through words. Balancing compassion and financial education. So how do we respond to our children when they ask for expensive items? I imagine that some responses are running through your head right now. But please keep in mind that the word expensive is relative. But for the purpose of this session and to save time, please take a moment to decide what's considered expensive in your household. There's not a one-size-fits-all approach to the quote-unquote right way to respond. However, there are some universal questions to consider as conversation starters. Let's take a look at some of them. Ask your child, what would you like to purchase? During this conversation, I want you to be mindful about guilt tripping. It's natural, especially at certain ages, to want something, although we may not, as parents, be in a headspace to want to receive it. Some of their wants may require extra planning or saving. How often does your child ask for items in this price range? Ask your child, why would you like to purchase this item? Is it because everyone else has it? Is it needed for your sport, for your extracurricular activity? Or is it an impulsive want? And after a week or two, it will no longer be that object, that shiny object in a corner capturing your attention. Does your child have any money saved to contribute toward this item? And we'll circle back to a unique way for your child to manage their money using Junior Wall Streeter's envelope system. Does this item have the potential to be on sale soon? For example, purchasing it off-season or close to a holiday? Questions such as these help our children work on a number of things. For example, delayed gratification, negotiation skills, but it also hopefully sets the stage for responsibility and gratitude. That's the hope, right? It also allows our children to manage their expectations. But consistency in our responses is key. When we have weak moments and give in, it has the potential to set the stage for our children using what worked before. For example, whining, nagging, you get the idea. So sometimes, depending on if you're in the mall, the grocery store, for example, we may want to consider offering alternatives instead of just a hard no. So instead of this sugary, dye-filled item, let's consider a fruit salad. Let's consider a smoothie. This topic offers us a great transition into conversations and beliefs about allowance. Conversations and beliefs about allowance can be a sensitive one, as you can very well imagine. Some of these beliefs are rooted in a family systems perspective. For example, I didn't receive an allowance growing up, or on the other end of the spectrum, I received an allowance growing up, and it allowed me to value money and discipline me with my spending. Some families believe that everyone in the family, some starting at a very young age, should be expected to pitch in. It's the least that they can do since we take care of X, Y, and Z. So in this case, it's neither a tool or a reward, it's an expectation or something that's automatic. So as a parent, which approach do we model? Let's examine a few options. As a tool, in the process of making this decision, I ask that you remember that allowance can be utilized as a tool, and if a family decides not to implement this tool for whatever reason, and it's no judgment either way, I want you to just think about other impactful ways that allow your child a practical, tangible, and consistent experience to manage money. Junior Wall Streeters incorporates the envelope system with their campers. It teaches basic budgeting through the use of save, spend, and donate envelopes. With this system, children, and adults for that matter, are able to track, allocate, and incorporate a goal. For example, if your child wanted to save for, let's say, a pair of sneakers, he or she would be encouraged to place a percentage of everything that they earned or received in envelopes depending on their goals and the timing of their goals. In this scenario, I want you to think of SMART goals, where goals are specific in nature. So granted, depending on what they're saving for, it may take a minute, but the envelope system builds confidence, it builds independence, and it helps them understand patience and limited resources. As parents, we do this ourselves when we budget. We look at the income to expense ratio, or simply put, the input to output loop. Some parents or guardians use allowance as a reward. Some families believe in compensating their children for their contributions to the household, like chores, for example, with the thought that they need to learn at an early age the value of work and that you don't get something for nothing. Some parents or guardians view allowance as automatic. Some families believe that an allowance should be automatically given because you're part of the family. Where else will they have an opportunity to receive money independent of maybe a birthday, Christmas gift, or something of that nature? It really just depends. But keep in mind that consistency in whichever tool you select is key, like the rules and timing of payments, if you decide to give an allowance. Inconsistency, on the other hand, has the potential to negatively impact your relationship with your child, especially if you're not communicating about the consistencies. Some key factors to consider. Each child processes information differently, different amounts at different rates. Some need additional time to process and digest, depending on their intellectual and emotional capacities. I want you to allow the assessment of your child's strengths to be your first step in this area. Math and numbers in general may not be your child's strength. Keep that in mind. Be patient with yourself during these conversations. Talking about finances, especially personal finances, is not easy. I want you to remember to utilize user-friendly language, age-appropriate language, and not language that supports your knowledge base. Depending on the age range, consider language such as the word buy instead of purchase, or what's left over instead of balance. Brainstorm a starting point. Would it be helpful for your child to learn about basic financial terms and definitions first, or something more extensive, such as teaching financial responsibility, where you start with figuring out how much money you have coming in, your income, how much money you have going out, your expenses. By comparing the two, you can loosely work together to create a budget to help protect yourself against going into debt. That would be a great exercise to complete together. Consider incorporating symbolic tools such as a Monopoly game or the spend, save, and donate envelopes that Junior Wall Streeters use with their students. They're also available on the website. These envelopes, as well as games involving dollars and cents, have been helpful for our son. You may also want to consider having them manage the banking portion of the game. Reinforce these conversations in different ways on different days. Think of measured and calculated portions. But I want you to trust your gut in this area and capitalize on teachable moments. Allow this experience to be fluid and open-ended. Allow them to pay for items at a grocery store if you're using cash. And allow them to stand there and count the change, even though the people behind you may be annoyed. Solicit their feedback. Ask them if they have any questions. Ask them to share with you what you taught them, what they remember. This is a powerful learning tool, which is transferable in many different areas in life. The impact of individual backgrounds. Many people don't realize that our family upbringing and individual backgrounds can directly and indirectly influence our thoughts and beliefs about money. Money is private. Money is personal. It's not an open topic of conversation. Even with our closest family members and friends, we often speak in vague terms, in ranges, being mindful not to be too specific. Because if we did, what would that information say or not say about me? For some people, just having an open conversation about money creates high levels of anxiety with the recognition of hard truths because they realize that they're not financially prepared for the future, or that they mismanaged their money in the past and did not make the quote-unquote best financial decisions. For some people, having an open conversation about money brings about feelings of sadness, because as you take a closer look at your current financial situation, you may have limited hope or optimism that you can learn or improve your current financial situation. Change is tough, but it can also serve as an opportunity. If any of these areas are applicable to you or impactful on a level where the anxiety or sadness halts you, you may want to consider addressing these areas first before you move forward with financial growth. Some people make financial decisions or do not make certain financial decisions due to historical and personal factors. Let's look at an example of a historical one, and then we'll look at a personal one. So someone grew up in a single-parent household, and it impacted where they lived, how they dressed, and their access to utilize and benefit from resources. This scenario could manifest itself in adulthood through living beyond one's means, especially materialistically. It's the overcompensating syndrome. Or on the other end, one of your parents or guardians keep their spending and debt secretive because of the shame and guilt associated with their lack of control and impulsiveness. Although we're adults and think that we should quote unquote know better, we may inadvertently gravitate in these directions that were modeled for us at a very early age. Age-appropriate money conversations. Are you able to communicate with your child in a way that they can hear you and absorb the information? For some parents, educating their children about money is not their strength. You might not feel comfortable with your own financial literacy, or it may not be connected to your skill set. Maybe you don't have the patience, or it may be challenging for you to utilize age-appropriate language. Each parent or guardian brings a different strength to the family unit. One parent may be more comfortable teaching their children how to drive, for example. So how early should you begin teaching your child about money? And what's the recommended age to begin? Some literature states that between 3 and 5 is a great starting point. It's at this age when we begin to develop the ability to make choices and reason, like basic budgeting, learning the value of money and its impact. From ages 8 until 12, conversations regarding money can be more complex in nature. Think of building versus investing, or different types and uses of money. Between 12 and 15, parents and guardians may want to have their children manage small budgets, which introduces them to the concept of spending, saving, impact, balances, and supporting charities. Depending on your child, they may also be ready to be introduced to financial systems such as banks. Junior Wall Streeters incorporates these areas in their curriculum, so you're covered there. Assess your child's capacity or average attention span by age group. If it feels like your child can only focus for 5 minutes, that may be entirely age appropriate. Here are the average attention span durations for each age group. Please take a few moments to review this slide. While you're reviewing this slide, I want you to keep in mind that this is just a guideline. Individual circumstances such as attention deficit disorder and the like may account for differences. So when we're teaching our children and or other family members about financial literacy or any other topic of interest, let's be mindful of their attention capacity. Sometimes we'll need to take a break or divide material into segments. A central tenet of internal family systems therapy created by Schwartz is the concept of self. At the core of IFS lies the belief that each individual possesses a wise center, often referred to as self. The 8 C's of financial literacy from a family systems approach. Curiosity. Be open-minded and develop an interest or desire to learn about financial literacy. Compassion. Be kind and understanding of yourself, especially as you navigate change. Calm. Focus on feeling centered and peaceful, even when things are tough. Clarity. Develop a clear picture of what you want and who you are. It helps us navigate where we're going. Courage. Mental strength is needed to make financial changes, and I'm sure most people will agree. Confidence. It's believing in ourselves and knowing we're worth it, even when we feel unsure. Creativity. Be open to new ideas and new ways to manage your finances. Connectedness. Utilize the resources in your life, like the people, places, and things, throughout your financial journey. The 5 P's of financial literacy, also from a family systems approach. Presence. Be present and aware of what's happening in the world of finances and its potential impact on the family. Are there stocks that we need to sell? Are there stocks that we should consider purchasing? Is more diversity needed in our portfolio? Junior Wall Streeters also carry stock trackers for your tracking convenience. Perspective. Examine the scope of your view. Try looking at the bigger picture or using a different lens beyond how you feel in the moment. For some people, this allows them not to make impulsive decisions or purchases. In this category, I want you to think of a food craving. That's the one that immediately comes to mind. Think of a food craving. In a moment, you may want this item, but when you look at the bigger picture, that New Year's resolution that you had, you look at your nutrition plan, your commitment that you made to yourself, the medication that you're taking that you said you want to stop taking, it allows you not to feed into your immediate, in the moment impulse. It allows you to utilize the information that you have and make it applicable for right now. That's the hope, to take the information that you learn in different areas of your life to help you in the moment. Patience. It's okay to take things slow and not rush your short-term and long-term goals. Remember, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. Persistence. Keep going, even when things get challenging. You're worth it. Your family is too. Playfulness. While on your financial path, enjoy life. You know what they say about all work and no play. An author by the name of Housel wrote a book about the psychology of money. Included in this book were 18 wealth lessons. I will not cover all 18, don't worry, but I would like to highlight just a few that have resonated with families over the years. But before we begin that, he starts with this quote, a really powerful quote. Financial success is not a hard science. It's a soft skill where how you behave is more important than what you know. I call this soft skill the psychology of money, meaning you don't need to know it all for change to begin. First wealth lesson that we'll take a closer look at, freedom. It's the ability to do what you want, when you want, with whom you want, for as long as you want. Is priceless. It's the highest dividend money pays. The man in the car paradox. No one is impressed with your possessions as much as you are. Wealth is what you don't see. Spending money to show people how much money you have is the fastest way to have less money. Save money. Less ego, more wealth. Saving your money is the gap between your ego and your income, and wealth is what you don't see. You'll change. Long-term planning is harder than it seems because people's goals and desires change over time. Totally natural. Nothing's free. Like everything else worthwhile, successful investing demands a price. There's volatility, there's fear, doubt, uncertainty, and sometimes regret. You and me. Beware of taking financial cues from people playing a different game than you are. Surround yourself with like-minded people. As we conclude, this is a great amount of information in just a short period of time. I recognize that. Please remember to be patient with yourself and this process. It's a journey, and thank you for allowing me to be a part of it. Be patient with the process of change. You can definitely change the narrative and create a healthier financial path for your family. Focus on a solution instead of being preoccupied with the problem. As we end, I want to leave you with this question. What's interfering with you living your best financial life?